Hello, how are you? Many people eat bananas daily because they're a sweet, convenient, and affordable fruit, but sometimes they make combinations that can worsen blood glucose spikes, reduce satiety, and even increase the risk of metabolic inflammation over time. Today I'm going to tell you which are the worst combinations you shouldn't make with your banana so you can always get the most benefits from it. Stay until the end because you won't want to miss this. Before we start, I want to ask you, do you usually eat bananas plain? Do you eat it with any other food? Do you have the habit of eating bananas daily, or is it a fruit you no longer consume? How does that work for you? Write to me down here in the comments. If you can, go ahead and leave a like on the video. This is very important to me here on the channel. It shows YouTube that you like the channel, that you support and trust my content. And if you know someone who tends to eat a lot of bananas, share this video. Maybe that person is making one of these mistakes and you can help them too. The first mistake when eating bananas definitely has to do with eating bananas inside bread. There are people who make banana and cheese sandwiches. Some people use wraps, tortillas, even corn tortillas, tapioca. They use some kind of dough like that to add along with the banana, put some cheese in it. We know that bananas already have a high glycemic index and a significant amount of carbohydrates, especially when they're riper, since their starch has turned into glucose and fructose. And when you add even more carbohydrates from these breads, these doughs, these tortillas, these wraps, you're increasing the amount of carbohydrates and the glycemic index of this meal. So ideally, you should avoid adding more carbs to the banana. The ideal is for us to try to balance things out. When you look at a banana, always think that because of its nutritional profile, it's asking for something with a lower glycemic index. And what usually lowers it? Protein, fiber, healthy fats. So ideally, you should try to focus on these foods. I'll give you more tips later on how to eat bananas in a better way. The second mistake that many people also make is eating bananas with cereals like cornflakes or oats. And I'm not even talking so much about rolled oats, which are a relatively healthy option, but the problem is those flavored oats, like chocolate flavored with chocolate chips, those more processed oats that even have sugar in their ingredients along with granola. A lot of people don't know this, but granola is usually very high in fat, right? Traditional granolas, and they have a lot of added sugar, syrup, honey. So if you want to have granola, the ideal is to make it at home, but with seeds, a more low-carb granola. I even have a recipe here on the channel. Be careful with add-ons like instant mixes or those powders people use to make porridge. Some people sprinkle that over bananas, thinking it's nutritious. But just like before, that's a lot of sugar, glucose syrup. Besides that, sometimes there are a lot of processed foods in there. Processed ingredients, colorants, preservatives, and so on. And in the same way, it can have a lot of unhealthy fats. It can cause a glucose spike because of the sugar and syrup. So these are not good options for you to add to your banana on a daily basis, especially if you have the habit of eating this every day. The third mistake has to do with adding wheat flour to your banana. There are people who make pancakes with banana, cakes with banana, and still add sugar. Banana, sugar, and wheat flour. Just imagine. Mug cakes and other recipes, cakes where you make a batter, fry it, and there are pieces of banana inside. So anything that has wheat flour as a base with banana, the wheat flour is a white flour, a flour without fiber, a flour that quickly turns into glucose. And one thing we need to understand once and for all is that our body doesn't know whether that glucose absorbed in the intestine came from flour, from sugar, where it came from. Because in reality, glucose is the final product of the absorption, of the digestion of carbohydrates, and it will be absorbed in the intestine in this form. So, whether you consume a food rich in glucose or in starch that quickly turns into glucose, along with another fruit that, it's fine, it's a natural fruit, but that also has more glucose, it's not beneficial from a metabolic or caloric standpoint for your body. Of course, we also have to talk about adding sweets to bananas. I left this one for last because it's more intuitive, but there are people who have the habit of eating banana with honey, banana with maple syrup. Some people put chocolate syrup on bananas. Some put those hazelnut chocolates like Nutella and similar spreads on bananas. Some people add whipped cream, which also has fat, right? Because it's whipped cream from milk, but there's also sugar in it. So be careful with these syrups with honey. I don't know if you use jam to make some kind of pancake or something like that. But anything you add to the banana that contains sugar will make the carbohydrate content, the glycemic index, the glucose spike, and the insulin spike even worse. And when we think about glucose spikes and insulin spikes, we think about two things: worse blood sugar control and fat gain, especially in this area here, the visceral central abdominal region, which is definitely not what anyone wants. So after all, how should you eat your banana? As I told you, focus on foods that are rich in fiber, protein, or healthy fats. A good option could be banana with yogurt, which will provide protein, or banana with some type of seed, like chia or flaxseed, some fiber like psyllium or even oats, preferably oat bran, which has less carb, less net carbs. That can be a good option. Another option could be to add chopped cashews, chopped walnuts, or unsweetened peanut butter, because then we have fiber and healthy fats. In other words, foods and ingredients that have a profile that helps slow down the absorption rate, that slow intestinal transit, and that make the absorption of the carbohydrate from the banana itself more gradual. Just reminding you, of course, that banana is a very healthy fruit. Wonderful, as I mentioned. It's accessible, sweet, and rich in potassium, and it even has fiber in its composition. So it's a good option for us to add to our daily routine in moderation. In fact, I have a playlist here with banana recipes. There are pancakes, cakes, sweets, puddings, mousse, ice cream. There are lots of recipes with banana. If you want to watch and make good choices, I'll leave it down below in the description. Tell me how you usually eat bananas in your daily life, or if you don't eat them at all, how does that work for you? Write to me in the comments. Leave a like on the video, it really helps me out. Share it with anyone you think could use these tips. Let's expand our chain of kindness. That's what I want with the channel. See you next time. Bye.